Alright, hello everybody and welcome back to another MSAHA Championship Interview. I am Charles Williams and today we have Coach Chris Ericksen of the PCA Paladins with us. His team won the 16U Boys Championship for the first time in the organization's history of getting the 16U Boys Championship there. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So going into this season, you guys had a team that you knew would be a very good and competitive team. You had a strong 18U squad, but only two of them were 18U exclusive. Everybody else was able to play both 18U and 16U. So what went into y'all's practices? How did y'all prepare for the season?
Well, a lot of times how we prepare, we kind of decide early on who's going to play what, like where, you know. Because a lot of those guys got higher minutes on the 18U, and 16U we try to rest up guys who more dominant play on 18U. You know, when we look at that, you know, we look at Hank and Colin and Drew Boggs. We try to limit their minutes as much as we could on a 16U early on, and that's kind of how we go into seasons. And we kind of practice like that too. You know, we kind of try to practice our more 16U guys against the older guys and work everybody together. Not saying we don't play them all together, but that's kind of how we prepare as far as getting ready for a 16U season.
Yeah.
We have guys we could pull in if we want, but we always go into a 16U looking at, okay, here's going to be our core five, and that's what we're going to run with.
Yeah, for sure. And, but also, if you could go ahead and just talk about that, talk about how you're getting your 18U squad ready as well, because, you know, unlike the other interviews I had with your team, is just like it's almost the same team playing twice. You just have two guys that just play 18U. So how are you getting ready for the 18U?
It's tough, but we do it pretty much the same way. You know, we had Gabe and Seth this year who were both 18U, couldn't play 16U, and then, like I said before, Colin played most 18U over 16U, and we kind of work them the same way, you know, as far as when we're working on defense and offense. Everybody goes over all the same stuff because our practices are together. We're limited on practice time, so whatever we do, we have to make sure, hey, okay, 18U, this is the starting five, and these are who's going to rotate in. And 16U, here's our starting five. We're going to rotate these guys. And so it's always figuring rotations at practice before every game and how we're going to go into a game and figure it out.
Yeah, and so this season, shifting back to talking about the 16U, so you guys were really tested for the first time in conference play when you guys went down to Laurel and took on the Laurel Nighthawks. It was a challenging game all the way to the end, and y'all pulled it out 44-41 at the end of that. So what did your team learn from that game? It was a close game. Probably, I think it was the closest game you guys had in the conference. So what did you guys learn from that game?
It was, and you know, on that game, I forget what our other game was, how close it was, but I think actually last time we played Laurel, it was kind of a bigger divide. So one of the things we take away from that is, you know, when we're going to get like that, you kind of looking at your opponents and said, okay, well, we beat them once, we're going to do it again. So you kind of go in big-headed, I guess you could say. I hate to use the term, but you're overconfident.
Yeah.
And, you know, in a game like that, you realize, hey, no matter what, whether you beat a team before or not, one of the things you guys have to learn is that competition can always get better over time. So going into a game like that, even after you beat an opponent once, it doesn't matter. And that's one of the things that I try to teach these guys is no matter what, if you beat a team by, let's just say, 30, they could come out and beat you the next game and have a great game. They could have just had a bad game. So never, ever underestimate who you're going up against.
Yeah, and also on kind of a side note at that point, you guys also took that 18U win by a lot. Y'all had a blowout win there down in Laurel. So you had the 18U and the 16U going pretty strong at that point in time for sure. So during this time, November, December, going into January, you guys were undefeated in conference, and the Muddy River Counselors were undefeated in conference. That was the one team that you guys had y'all's eye on going into it. And so going into that matchup, you guys were 9-1, they were 9-0, and it was kind of a game that was a little bit, I would say, out of character for both the teams since it was a lower scoring game that was the last low-scoring game we saw between those two teams. It was a 36-26 win for you guys. So how did that win and taking that #1 seed have your team feeling after that one?
Well, taking the #1 seed, you always feel great when you know you're #1, but you always know you got a target on your back.
Yeah.
So when you take the #1 seed, it's like, okay, everybody else wants that spot, especially the Muddy River. When we took that spot, it made other teams want to work even harder. So when you take that #1 spot, we had to work even harder to try and keep it. But you get a kind of little, you're happy, you're excited, we're #1, but you still have to remember, just like the #2 spot is sitting there wanting that #1 spot. So at any point in time, you can lose it. Especially you guys, 9-0, we're 9-1. That was a what race. So at any point in time in the conference game, we could have lost to you guys, and then the tiebreaker would have been going. I guess I don't know how that would work, but again, you got to always think about that.
Yeah, for sure. There. So heading into the MSAHA playoffs, you guys had the top seed in both 18U and 16U, but in 18U, it wasn't looking as strong since you had Chris Ericksen, your son, hurt, and Laurel had since then Laurel had beaten you guys twice in a row there. But yet you guys competed very hard and to the end, lost in the championship, but it was lost the overtime game and lost the 70-64 game. But overall, how would you grade your 18U team's playoff performance considering the circumstances?
I think we played great. The guys that went out there, they gave everything they had. No, we didn't win in the end, but, I feel our performance on defense, offense, we executed well, and we played great in the playoffs. Yeah, we were down a player, but one thing I always preach, and my other coaches always preach is, hey, guys, it takes a team to win. Can't just be one guy. And those guys really came together and played well.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that team.
Yeah, very, very strong performance. I mean that last championship game there, that was a classic. I mean it came down to the end. It was a hard fought battle, so that's definitely a fun one to watch there. But going back to the 16U, in the 16U playoffs, you guys were undefeated, but that one game with the counselors was a little different because the counselors were without two of their starters in that first game that you guys won. So how did those questions about that game motivate you guys? Because you guys knew that y'all had a very good squad, but y'all were playing them in the playoffs, and that'd be the first time that you'd get the straight up matchup there. So how did those questions motivate you guys?
Well, you guys not having two of your starters, it always says, well, hey, they're going to go out there and get the best they got, so we're going to get the best we got. But hopefully we got the upper hand, of course, which we hope for in any game. But one thing I try to tell you guys, just because their starters are missing, you cannot underestimate them. And I think after that win, it came out, said we had a hollow victory, which I understand y'all guys down 2 starters, but I guess we kind of made that up in the championship. But again, I hate to bring that up, but I had to for my guys because that was kind of a real hard dig for those guys, But it's basketball. It's a competitive sport. Like I said, we go out there the same way we played you guys with your starters. Hey, we're giving everything we got.
Yeah. And so in those playoffs, you guys were able to march through that first round with a win over the 8 seed Mount Zion. Then you guys were able to power past the Laurel Nighthawks, winning by 12 in that one, which was a game that we talked about earlier. You had a hard fought battle with them, so that wasn't just y'all were able to handle them in the playoffs there. But then you took on the Muddy River Counselors, who the Counselors now have a full strength team in the playoffs. You take them on, and it was an entertaining game. You guys took it, held them off 49-42, and in a double elimination tournament, it's always big to get that first win because you don't, it always helps you nicely there. So can you take us through that game?
I can, and one of the things that you guys have in your 2 guys back, you're always trying to figure out better defensive schemes the whole time just to try and take those guys out of a game. Because we knew going into the game, hey, they're here. This is what we're going to have to do to try and beat them. So you're always trying to think ahead defensively and scheme against certain players, and it's a chess match. So, but again, it goes back to what I was telling you before. One thing that kept feeding my guys was that win that they had, and on social media, I don't know if y'all saw it, but people saying we had a hollow win, that fed them throughout that whole game because they knew it was fuel. It was frustration, and they wanted to prove to everybody that, hey, we're really good and we want to beat you guys. And y'all are a great team. We thoroughly enjoy playing you guys, and we knew y'all were going to be the ones that give us the most trouble this year in the conference.
Yeah, it was some good competition there for sure. And it was kind of.
I'm gonna go ahead and pull that game up real quick while we're on it, if you got a sec.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So one of my guys that showed up that game was Scotty Cobert. He was 5 for 12 from three, which that helped propel us to victory in a big way. Because my other top scorers, I mean, not that they were playing bad, but they just wasn't putting up the points that we normally get. I think Drew only had 6 points that game. Tate had 8, only had 5.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, for Scotty to step up and have 22 points, a lot of credit goes to him on the offensive end.
Yeah.
But then on the defensive side of the ball, I look at what my other guys did with steals and creating turnovers and stuff like that. So, I mean, it was a well put together package, but the score in that game, I got to say, Scotty helped execute that win in a big way.
Yeah, I remember that. He's nailing them over there from that corner and then putting those floaters in as well. Just a very solid performance from him for sure. And at that point, you guys had made it to the championship Saturday with the one more game to win. Now the counselors made it back to face you guys again, but they had to beat you guys twice. But the catch was that you guys were also in the 18U championship. So you guys did not want to lose that game, because you would be finding yourself playing you'd be playing an 18U, then a 16U again. So it actually, I mean, I'm sure going into that game, y'all looked at it as we need to go ahead and get this over with.
Yeah, going into that game, we looked at it, hey, look, we really want to go all in and take this championship, and we felt that was probably our best spot to do it at the time with the way we were playing. That whole group was playing on a 16U level, and then, like you said earlier, not having had that championship before, that was also fueling us wanting to win that as well. I actually have that game pulled up too, where it shows other guys showed up in that game very well with as far as scoring.
Tim Singletary.
Drew, Tim Singletary. He was 5 for 12 on 3 that game.
Yeah.
Drew had 14. He had a decent game.
Yeah.
So it was a well played game between most of my top scorers on that team, and y'all only held Scotty to 9, and he put 22. So, it kind of changed probably the way Coach wanted to run his defense, being Scotty put up 22. His game plan was probably centered around him, which allowed other guys to take more of a scoring role that game,
Yeah.
And I think Caden Comenge actually got hurt that game with his shoulder. That's when he went out in the first, right before halftime, I want to say.
Yeah, I remember. It seemed like that was nagging him from that earlier game on Friday as well.
I knew it was one of the games where he got hurt.
Yeah.
But like I said, that group with Tate, Caden, Drew Boggs, Hank, that's a really good group. And Tim, those 5, that's a good core group for us on 16U. And I wanted to make a push with those guys, and they worked hard all year. And so, guys, I'm not going to take it from you.
Yeah, so when I was over there announcing that championship game, and I turned around to Deem over there, and I was telling him, I was like, man, that was the best 16U game I've ever seen. I mean, it's 63-51. I mean, that's just high-powered, high-intensity, high-scoring. I mean, it was entertaining, and you guys had just really had it going on, and so it was definitely a fun championship game, and for sure to watch. I think I mentioned this earlier, but you guys, that was the first time that you guys had ever won the 16U championship in PCA history. So how does that feel to get the first one? I mean, PCA's been in this league for 10, 11 years now.
Well, I look back and I got because I have a couple different trophies on my wall. I go back to when I first came to PCA when I took the 7th and 8th grade team.
That's right.
And we came out there and won my first year coaching. So to come back with, I guess you could say almost pretty much the same group 4 or 5 years later and take a 16U for the first time, it feels great. You know, I got to give it to the guys. The hard work this season is what paid off. You know, those guys really worked hard, and I'm proud of them because they did something that no other team has.
Yeah.
So that's big for those guys and big for me as a coach. You know, having Coach Brian with me, you know, I give him credit too, and Coach Eric. We all worked pretty well together this season and put together some good packages to be able to take that home.
Yeah, so and now kind of shifting a little bit away from the 16U, just talking about it in general now. You brought your 16U and 18U squads to Dallas for the Big South Regional, where you guys in 18U made it to the championship game of your division before taking a 3-point loss in the championship game to the Victoria Cobras. So tell us about that experience, because that was a pretty good go there.
Well, you know, Dallas was rough on us because we got out there and the first day was canceled because of all the weather that we're having. So the second day we played 5 games.
Yeah, with the both.
I say 5, no, 4. 2 16U and 2 18U. So it already started off, you know, pretty hard on the guys having to play that many games back to back to back to back. And then we also had our 14U out there. So having our 14U out there pulled some of our guys like Scotty and Hayes who get minutes on 16U to give our guys breaks. So, I mean, regional is always an experience. You know, I will say 18U, we go out there. Colin's not 100% still from injury. He's trying to play, but, you know, I think Seth had a couple real big games out there, and Gabe. So our 18U going out there really fought hard for where we were at. And then 16U, man, you know, the team that got us was Little Rock.
Yeah, a strong team.
That is a very good team, and we just went out there and gave everything we had. We played every minute, played as hard as we can. Once we got out there and Little Rock had beat us, it kind of changed the tone for the rest of the tournament for 16U because it puts you in a different bracket, you know?
Yeah.
So once you don't go into contention, you kind of shift gears and move to where you're able to really compete and win something. We didn't take anything home, but we played some great competition out there. Well, hard fought games.
And so you guys just returned from there about a little over a week ago. You guys had a solid run in 16U particularly. But you guys had a solid amount of games as well to be able to get a lot of action there. So tell us about the Nationals experience.
Well, Nationals this year, we took 14, 16, and 18U boys again. Our 14U boys brought home a bronze ball. 16U brought home a silver ball in their class, which moved us on to go for the silver on the national level. You know, 18U boys, I don't believe we placed, but we moved up in rankings on a national level. Yeah. You know, but again, it goes back to the amount of games you play. I think we played a total of 18 games over 5 days between the 3 teams. So when you have, you know, like some of the boys, they play on a 14, 16, and 18. So you're trying to limit minutes here, minutes there, and you know, and then you try to look at the competition and say, okay, well, this is who we're going to play here, and this is who we're going to play there. You know, I think first game out, you know, Caden got hurt again, Colin got hurt again. So we played with injuries out there. Luckily, both of them were able to continue play, but they were both nursing injuries the whole entire week.
Yeah.
So, and then we had, it seemed like a bout of sickness went through a lot of people up there, you know. Flu, viruses. It was a tough go this year, but it was fun.
Yeah.
We went out there and did what we could, you know. And I would tell any program, hey, if you haven't experienced regionals or nationals, it's a definite. You know, it needs something. It's something to be experienced. It's fun. It's competitive. And if you're the coach, you get wore out, but it's good because I love coaching. You know, when you coach 18 games, I wouldn't give it up, but it's tiring.
Oh, yeah.
That last day, you're kind of like, can't even talk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know it. So my last question is, with you guys winning the 16U championship this year and coming in second in 18U, this is MSAHA we're talking about here. You guys would definitely be considered the favorites for the 18U championship next season. And I know this is way too early to be talking about this, but how do you feel about your projected team heading into next season?
Well, I feel pretty good about our team next year. You know, we're losing Seth, and he's our only senior.
Yeah.
So 18U, we're losing one person, and he was a big asset to us this season.
Yeah.
But you know, we have a lot of guys on the 16U that's going to be able to step in and fill that role. So I'm pretty confident in the 18U going forward next year. You know, we'll be getting back to work here in the next month or so, off-season training, getting ready for some summer leagues to play in, and just trying to stay playing so we can get ready for next season. And you know, I know parents like to take breaks, but
yeah,
I try to keep these boys playing as much as I can, just so they stay in basketball shape. You know, we take a little time off, and then it's back to it.
Yeah.
You know, in the 16U, they're going to be strong too. You know, because you have Caden, Tim, Tate, Scotty, Hayes, and a couple of those other 14U guys that's moving up. So we should still have a strong 16U next season. And I think a couple of the guys that took off this season, they're coming back, which would be on 16U as well, and 18, of course. So that's kind of up in the air, but I've heard they're coming back. So we should be pretty good throughout the whole season with both teams, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. You never know for sure, but you guys definitely are looking good right now, and hopefully we'll see all those guys back and see a good strong another season here. But Coach, thank you for joining us for this interview. I mean, I gave you kind of a lot of questions here, but appreciate it.
I will say though, 18U, we're going to try and take home that ball next year, that championship.
Hey,
that's the goal.
Oh yeah. And see, you're looking for history again, because that'd be the first time for PCA and 18U as well.
I am looking to repeat. Every year you look to repeat and get better.
Oh yeah.
So
sure.
Charles, I thank you for having me. You know, I look forward to seeing you guys out there again next season, and good luck to y'all.
Oh yeah, for sure. And look forward to hopefully doing the same type of thing as this year, next year, and hopefully getting even better over here on the media side. You know, appreciate it.
Yep, have a good one, man.
And thank y'all for joining us. I am Trellis Williams, and this is a TSJW Network exclusives for the MSAHA Championship Coaches. That was our last one for this series. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for supporting us throughout this 2021-22 season, and appreciate y'all. And thank you, and we out.